My name is Charlie Parsons and we are at Old Trafford today with a legend of the game courtesy of Wow Hydrate and the launch of the new flavour Red Cherry. Mr. Andrew Cole, the man next to me. Firstly, how are you, sir?
Very good, Chaz, you?
Yes, good, mate. Chaz, I like that. That's a little bit of an adopted nickname. We'll run with it for the interview.
When I was a youth team player, I used to play with a kid in my youth team. His name was Charlie, so we used to call him Chaz.
Okay, we'll stick with Chaz. I like that. I suppose we're going to talk about a couple of things. Your background in the sport, I suppose, the current England crop that are coming through now. I suppose, firstly, on Grassroots, something that we're seeing more and more about in today's game. Differences from you, from when you were a young player coming up through the ranks to the facilities that the lads have got now, and how things have changed just firsthand?
Massive.
Yeah.
When you mentioned their facilities, what they have now to, obviously when I first started out in the game, is totally different. But I think I've got to say one element I look at in the game is like having the kids like be associated with clubs at such an early age. I think at that age, just go and enjoy it. You know, that's what we used to do.
There's too much pressure there.
Yeah, far too much pressure. You know, when a respected club could turn around and say to a kid, "You're not good enough at 8." I don't know. He could go on and be a brain surgeon. You never know, you know. So yeah, but it is what it is. But like I said, things have changed a hell of a lot, and Grassroots is growing even more and more.
I was going to say, on that topic, I suppose, we hear more and more now about player aftercare as well. We know that a lot of these lads have sort of risen up through the ranks, and all they've known is football, but we know that there's a bit more now in place for some of these young players to sort of, they feel like they've got something to do with football, isn't it, for them?
Rightly so. If you look at the stats, numbers say, I mean, out of possibly 100 kids, if 2 make it, and I mean, the highest level out of 100 kids is not good numbers. You know, so they do need aftercare. You know, I think just like when you retire from playing football, there's not a lot you can do after that. You know, if you're not looking into doing something when you're actually playing. So yeah, I think as football grows, as people start to understand you need aftercare after football, you know, things will get better.
Let's talk a little bit about the young crop that are coming through at United. Loads of players, I suppose. Garnacho, we see recently, Kobbie Mainoo with sort of young 18-year-old people almost talking about maybe him getting an opportunity with the England Euro squad, as we've got that music going on in the background. But such a great young crop coming through, and then when you hear about sort of 18-year-old and then getting linked to the England team, in bright hands for Manchester United.
Well, that's what Manchester United has been built on for many, many years. Kids coming through the academy. I was fortunate to play with quite a few of them boys. You know, we went on to achieve a hell of a lot at Manchester United. And like I said, this is what Manchester United will be for many years, like I said previously. The boys you just mentioned there, especially Kobbie. And
special, right?
Yeah, if he keeps the same mentality that he has now for the next 10 years.
What is his ceiling? We look at a player like that, you know, you come in, you make the impact that he has in the Manchester United team at the minute. See how highly the fans rate him. Like I say, potential England squad for the Euros. I mean, that ceiling is sky high.
It is, but it's all about keeping it level-headed.
Yeah.
And looking at him from afar, you know, he was like his pre-season. Pre-season was absolutely fantastic as well. Picked up a nasty injury in the last game. Took his time to get fit, and he's got in the team, and he looks like he's been in the team for many, many years. I mean, in saying that, I've seen so many players come through like him, you know, and then play a few games and fall by the wayside. Yeah. Fingers crossed it doesn't happen to him. He looked like he's got old head on young shoulders, and the way he plays, it brings a smile to my face.
Let's talk a little bit about yourself. Who was your footballing idol growing up?
Sil Regis.
Okay.
Yeah,
why?
Yeah. Just the way he conducted himself. Yeah, I loved his mannerisms, the way he conducted himself and the way he played football.
I suppose on the topic of players coming through now, what was it like all those years back when you first broke in through the senior squads? And what advice would you give to some of the lads who are starting to come through? I mean, we've just walked through there now. You can imagine being a 17, 18-year-old, getting your first match day experience and having to come out and sort of see that firsthand. What sort of advice would you get, and what was the feelings that you had when you were first breaking through?
Enjoy it. I think my path to first team football was a little tougher than most others, you know. I left one respected club, went backwards to move forward, got transferred to another club, and then finally things started to take off for me when I was, early 20s. 22-ish, 23-ish. And a lot of the boys at my age group were already playing in the first team then. So like I said, I was a little bit later, but I just tried to enjoy it as much as I could do, especially when I had the opportunity to play in the Premier League for the first time. That was special.
Something you mentioned there, taking a step back to make 2 steps forward. Now, this is something that we hear quite a lot about, I suppose, on the topic of what you say. If you come through a great academy like something like Manchester United or Arsenal or whatever, and you don't necessarily get the shot, a lot of lads can be sort of put back by it. But I suppose you firsthand, you have to take that step back and you really can propel your career through doing that.
Yeah, I had that mentality though. I remember sitting down having a conversation with my granddad about making that move, and I mean, you touched on the club that I was at when I was younger. You know, I made that decision to turn and say, I will go backwards to move forward because I want to prove a hell of a lot of people wrong. So to make that decision at that time, people might have looked as, I'm not sure.
It's a hard decision.
Yeah, it was a massive decision, but I've always believed in myself that I could make that decision. I always believed that I could play at the highest level. Making that decision at that time, yeah, it's a tough one.
Daunting?
Yeah, very much so, because you never know if you're going to come back, but you have to try and test yourself. And that's what I did. I tested myself. I think throughout my footballing career, I always made my own decisions. You know, I left my parents when I was 14 years of age.
Yeah.
And I never looked back. And that's where I lived my life, you know, trying never to look back, look forward. And whatever decision I made on my footballing career, it was always down to me and nobody else.
Assured in what you did.
Very much so, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about nutrition, because I'm sure that's changed an awful lot. Obviously, we're here with Wow Hydrate. We've got these electrolyte drinks, Red Cherry to launch today, protein drinks, all sorts. But nutrition and everything has changed massively as sport. What are your thoughts on it? Because I speak to maybe players that have retired even 5-10 years ago, and they say how much it's changed. A lot of players have chefs now. I mean, when you compare it to when you were playing, how does it baffle you? But I suppose also, you know, you look around, the way that technology's moving, things are changing over the time. Perhaps not.
No, I don't think it baffles me. I think, like in anything in life, it moves on. And when it comes to sports, everyone wants to hit the limits, don't they? Everyone wants to push the barriers as far as they can push them. So to see where they're at now, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I'm really not surprised, especially like you touched on there with Wow Hydrate. You know, these kind of drinks coming into the market, you know, to try and get everything out of each respected player. Back in our day, use that with some water.
Yeah,
I mean,
winging it a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. You know what? I mean, it's just like I'm sitting there thinking when we had our like little dietitian, you know, he used to come in twice a week. By the way,
Twice a week.
Okay,
so they're not on you like every meal.
No, exactly, but that was back then.
Yeah.
Twice a week, he used to come in and he used to mix us a little bit of drink. He used to be like, orange cordial, some water.
Okay.
Drop a little something in it, and you drink that. You think, oh yeah, let's give it a little bit of a buzz.
And now we've got.
Exactly.
I know.
You know, so that's where it's changed. So to see where it's at now is absolutely frightening.
Let's talk about the women's game now. I think it's even mad for me because, like I said, like we were speaking earlier, I'm only 20, but even when I was back in primary school, perhaps, there weren't as many girls playing football as there are now. I look at some of my cousins that go to wherever it be in the country. Manchester United have got a great women's team. And it's really surging over the last 10 years. We see the success in the international fixtures. Just first-hand your thoughts. I mean, it's a game for all, right? But just how well women's football's doing, and I mean, some of the stadium capacities that they're doing now as well.
It's grown. It will continue to grow. Hopefully it stays sustainable, you know. They're getting back in, which is good. And for me, if you look at the younger generation, young girls that want to play football, and they're watching women play football now, that gives them opportunity.
Yeah.
Growing up when we were kids, girls weren't playing football, they weren't even allowed to play football. You know, so I look at that, and that's a great positive in itself.
We touched a little bit on it earlier about sort of, I suppose, player aftercare and everything, but more often than not we hear about, and you gave a stat earlier about players not making it in the professional game. What advice would you give them? I've got friends who have mentally struggled with the setbacks faced, you know, like we say, all you ever know is football, you maybe don't put as much into education and everything. What would you say to someone who was struggling to sort of...
If I'm going to be brutally honest.
Yeah.
If I had my time again, education would be paramount.
Okay.
100%.
First hand, even with the career you had?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I wish that I hadn't messed about as much at school.
Really?
My mind was like, I'm going to be a professional footballer, I don't care, and blah, blah, blah. I just do enough to get by, and I'm sitting there now, and I've answered this many times. If I had my time again, I'll do it properly.
Okay.
Yeah, I won't mess about, so even if you believe you're going to be the best player in the world, I mean, do things right, man, because you never know.
On that topic, we see in today's game a lot of the lads who are in the academies will do it all quite in-house. How has that changed from when you did it?
I think how that's changed, because they're making school now a bigger thing.
Which is important.
Education, yeah. I mean, so even if you're taking the kids out, for instance, to go and train for the afternoon, you've still got to do your schoolwork and all that kind of stuff. I think that's a big positive, because the numbers will never lie when it comes to players making it. And I think a lot of the younger generation sit there and watch football and think, oh yeah, I mean, it's easy. During a footballing career, from a young age to when you're actually playing to the peak of your powers, the peaks and troughs you go through, ups and downs. Football it's an unbelievable roller coaster.
Yeah.
You know, you're up one day, you're down, you're in the middle the day after, you're in the team, you're out the team. There's so many different emotions when you play football or you're aspiring to be a professional footballer. And it's not easy.
You mentioned the word roller coaster. Now, obviously, like I told you, I come from a bit of a boxing background, and we see when fighters retire, maybe 31 to 36, all they've ever known is being a young lad, going into the gym, training, and living that same routine their whole career. When you retired, was it a struggle to sort of, what am I going to do? You've spent your whole life coming out doing match days in these incredible stadiums, to then have to just put a stop to it one day. Was that a bit of a reality check for you?
You know, I'm not going to lie, yeah, because due to the fact you've been regimented for so long, 10, 15 years, whatever, and then you decide you retire, everyone shakes your hand, gives you a pat on the back. Yeah, you've had a fantastic career. Thank you very much.
That's it.
Yeah. So you actually say to yourself, okay, what do I do from here? You know, and I mean, when I retired, made my mind up, I thought about going into coaching and all that. And then I just said to myself, no, I don't want to coach. It's not for me. I mean, I don't want to be a manager. Manager is not for me, because I always said I never want to meet a person like me being a manager, you know. So yeah, I'm very, very fortunate. Manchester United gave me the opportunity to come as an ambassador for the football club, and I wasn't sure I was going to do that. I mean, I'm like, why am I going to do that? I just want to kick back. You can only kick back.
I was just about to say, there's only so much kickback you can do. You can sit on a beach for 6 months and think, I need to fill the day up somehow.
Exactly.
And this was the next best thing for you.
Yeah. And I said, look, I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
And I've got to say thank you to like Ali Edge as well, you know, because Ali introduced me to it, and I said to Ali, nah, Ali, I'll give it a go, but you know it's not me. She said to me, Coley, just try it. I think I must be about 12, 13 years in, and I'm still doing it, and I'm still enjoying it.
So,
yeah. So, yeah, it's an opportunity that at the time I wasn't sure about, but for me, it's given me the other side of football.
Current England crop, we always feel like it's the time going into the Euros, but like we mentioned with Kobbie earlier, Bellingham, Foden, some incredible players. Can we be hopeful?
Yeah, of course you can be hopeful. England is as good as anybody else, and that's what England fans and the country fail to understand. You're as good as anybody else, but that don't mean you're going to beat everybody else. You know, England have a generation of some real good players coming to at the moment, but so do a few other nations. And when you start thinking like that, you don't think, oh yeah, we're the best because we've got the Premier League or whatever it may be. So yeah, they've got a great opportunity. They just need to put it all together and win a major tournament.
I said to you off camera about coming out. Did that ever get old? One of the most daunting grounds for away teams to come out.
Yeah.
But for you, firsthand, what was it like coming out of that tunnel? I mean, and did it ever get old? Special
feeling coming out there. Never ever get old. Even coming down like today, never gets old. It's a great feeling.
Best thing about a match day here?
Crowd.
Yeah.
Atmosphere. Yeah, special. Very, very special.
Best fans in England?
They're up there.
You played against United away here, like I mentioned. What was travelling here like?
I loved it.
Yeah?
I loved it. To be fair, this is the place where I got my first Premier League goal. Playing for Newcastle. And I scored it in the Trafford end as well. So, yeah, for me, it's great memories, this place. I'm fortunate to win things here. Fortunate to get my first Premier League goal is. So, yeah, I always look at Old Trafford as an unbelievable city.
You set a British transfer record for you moving here. As a player, what was that like? Was that added pressure on you?
Crazy at the time because the fee was so big. The fee was so big. Yeah. We're talking £6 million, and you've got people going for over 100 million now. So, yeah, but at the time, yeah, it was a big fee. Added pressure moving to Manchester United, especially from Newcastle. Expected to do wonders, score loads of goals. And it took me a little bit of time to get used to it, but I enjoyed it in the end.
30 years on now, and the transfer market's changed massively. What are your thoughts on that, and how do you think the game's changed as a whole?
30 years on, how's it changed? Transfer fees are crazy, I know, but inflation. That's what you have to pay, is the current market. If you look at majority of teams in the Premier League, they've all got finances to do whatever deals they want to do. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. And that's where the game's changed as well. There's a hell of a lot of money in football. I'm not saying it wasn't previously, but even more so now.
I saw one of your pin posts on Instagram with Sir Alex Ferguson, one of the greatest managers of all time. What was it like first-hand playing under him in such a successful era for Manchester United? But are there any sort of stories or any memories that stick out in your mind that you'd be willing to share with us where, when you think of Sir Alex, that's one of the moments that you reference and pinpoint?
Yeah, I think when you play for a manager of his stature, you understand what playing for Manchester United is all about. I mean, we always used to say to us, go and entertain. I mean, enjoy it. Enjoy yourself. You've only got a short career, so go and enjoy it. And when you're in the moment, you don't think like that. You're mid-20s, you think the peak of your powers. And by the time you realise you're retired. So you can only look back on those kind of memories and listen to what you used to say then, playing some of the biggest teams in the world and competing, winning Premier League titles. And you can't legislate for things like that when you retire. So that's the time to look back and reminisce on what you achieved.
Were there any non-negotiables that maybe he set or that you had as a player that made you perform as well as you did in your peak, or the team did in their peak?
I think we all brought into it. I think we all had a winning mentality. And we knew just how special it was to play for this football club. This football club had to be at the peak of their powers. The football club that had to be winning, being involved in winning. So I think we all understood that.
Your accolades speak for themselves. Obviously, that treble win. Was that the most special of the lot? And where do you rank them? I mean, 5 Premier League, 2 FA Cups, a Champions League, a lot of goals scored. How do you sit back and assess it and rank them?
Yeah. To be involved in that season was truly amazing. Like I said, I think when you sit back on your career and reflect, I can honestly say, yeah, I enjoyed every single minute of it. But to be involved in that treble-winning team is very, very special indeed.
You won Young Player in the Year of the Year.
That was a long time
same
ago.
Season as you got the Golden Boot.
Yeah.
How do individual accolades compare to what you achieved?
Individual, for me personally, I've got to be honest, neither here or there.
Okay.
There's no point, I've always said it many, many times, there's no point me scoring 30, 40 goals, for instance, and my team finishing 5th or 2nd. I mean, what's it mean? I got 40 goals, but we finished 5th or 2nd. 40 goals and we win the league, yeah. But the good thing is I never got to 40 goals and my team not winning the league. We was a team that always shared things about, and we was a team that wanted to share things about.
Dwight York, what makes such a good striker partnership? And I read something where you referred to your relationship with him as yin and yang.
Yeah, 100%.
Sort of, do you want to elaborate on that a bit more, and what makes such a great strike partnership?
We are polar opposites.
Okay.
And if you speak to anyone about myself and York, they'd tell you it was so different, but it worked. We got on the football pitch and off the football pitch. We always used to have a laugh and joke with each other. I think that's the most important thing. I think when Dwight come to Manchester United, I enjoyed my football even more because he brought a hell of a lot more out of me. He brought my personality out of me even more so. And then once we crossed that white line and just expressed ourselves, because that's what you do when you play football. expressing yourself. It's a partnership that will be remembered for many, many years.
Any other players in your career that were that you have close memories with and close bonds with and brought out the best in you as a player? Yeah.
All of them, yeah. I think I've had the opportunity to play some great players. In my time playing in the North East, playing with Peter Beasley, fantastic players. When I first started, playing with players like Russell Osman, Leroy Rosinia, Jackie Jakanowski, they all always brought something out of me. Because without me playing with those kind of guys, I could never got to the next level of my career. Because I learned from those guys, and they was always there to give me advice and always there to tell me how good I could be, and the levels I could get to if I got my head down. So yeah, I will always appreciate those kind of people.
Last couple from me, bit of a funny one. If you weren't to have been a professional footballer,
don't ask me.
What would you have done?
Don't ask me. Don't ask me. What would I have done? Oh my God, who knows? I think I found myself in a little bit of trouble somewhere, but yeah, I don't know.
Okay, we'll swerve that one. And just lastly, from us, your favourite flavour of Wow Hydrate, is it on brand with the Red Cherry Electrolyte Pro that we've got here?
This is nice, man. I like the lime one as well, to be fair. The lime one's cool.
I like the lime one as well.
Yeah, I like the lime one.
Well, Mr. Andy Cole, thank you ever so much for your time
much.
This afternoon. It's been an absolute pleasure, and obviously celebrating the launch of the Electrolyte Pro Red Cherry with Manchester United.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, mate.
Wow. Thank you.
Wow.